now we can get down to brass tacks and really try to look at how we can get these sounds out of this scale. Now, the tried and true method is to literally just play the scale. You can just you can just go to town all day until you have all of the the different till you have all the different boxes memorized. And this is actually a really good tool for trying to learn all of the other modal shapes, like as I said before, if you already know, it's all the same notes up and down the neck for an entire kind of set of modes that kind of stick together. So I mean, if you know a Dorian and you go up one more note, you know A or B Locrian. You not Locrian, Phrygian. You know B Phrygian pretty well, so you can just run this kind of thing real simple and easy. And what I did myself was I would just set a metronome, or I would get a backing track out, and I mean, this is probably not the right way, but I would just play this scale over and over again for hours till I had it underneath my fingers. And I know that sounds like quite a slog, but in the long run, you learn the scale. Or you could, pull up a backing track for something, but we can get into that a little bit later. Now, if you get bored with doing, just running the scale, your audience is going to get pretty bored with running the scale too. You just running the scale too, and you're going to lose, kind of like a creative flow. So one interesting thing you can do to kind of vary it up and give yourself a little bit more intervallic quality in your lines while you're soloing is you can go back to a more bass way of thinking, like say a pentatonic, for example. You take this A minor pentatonic and you shift it up 2 frets and start on B. I mean, that's going to sound pretty cool, because if you look at it this way, you have tension 9, you have the B we were talking about, you have tension 11, which I didn't mention earlier, but that is based on the D. You have tension 9, tension 11, you have the 5th of the chord, you have the flat 7 of the chord, you have the root, and then you have the 9 again. So you're bringing out so many tensions simply from moving your pentatonic box up a half step. And all of these tensions are derivative from the Dorian mode. So let's take a listen to this this little vamp, and I'm just going to try and run these scales, and you can hear how it sounds and see if you like it or not. And then when you get comfortable enough with playing it out of position, you can start to combine the two, and then you get some really interesting ideas. And you can really kind of play around with that. You can also kind of get chromatic with it too, but I wouldn't recommend doing that at first. I would just recommend try working on bringing out the sound of using different pentatonic scales that you might not typically use over a single vamp to really bring out the tensions. And you can do that, with minor pentatonic scale starting on the root note. You can start on the 2nd note, and you can also do it on the 5th note of the scale. And this is the kind of thing that you might hear like Eric Johnson do a lot. He does this all the time in his songs, and he's really good at blending this kind of material with your kind of more linear style playing, but he also does a lot of what I'm about to tell you about next. So like I was saying before, there are specific chords associated with a mode, and one thing, once you get bored with just playing pentatonic scales and playing up and down the neck, one thing you can do is you can start to think of the triads that are associated with each of the notes. So, like, take for, again, A Dorian. The notes in the scale are A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and A. So if we stack the notes in the scale in thirds, right? We have A, C, and E, which is obviously an A minor triad. We have B, D, and F sharp, which is a B minor triad. We have C, E, geez Louise, that's so embarrassing. C, E, and G as a C triad. You can do this all the way up the neck, and you get a D triad, and you get an E minor triad, and you get an F sharp diminished triad, and then at the end on G you have a G major triad. And you can use these triads in a whole bunch of different shapes to also elicit these same kinds of tensions that we've been talking about bringing out to get the Dorian scale. So, say like let me just play through this real quick, and so what you want to do is maybe at first just stick with keep it pretty linear scalarly in regards to the triads. So I'll call them out as I play them, and hopefully this will make sense to you. So here's A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, G major, and then A minor again. And you can start to really kind of combine these triads together into lines. And I know it's difficult to think of arpeggiated triads in lines, but if you really start to work at it, it'll, in a way, you won't be able to not think about it like that in regards to how you're soloing. So like, say here's what you should do first. You take two of these triads, like say C and D, which both are not particularly related to the tonal center of the song. So you're going to get a lot of, like tension. You're going to build a lot of tension in your solo if you really focus on these two triads. And these are usually referred to as triad pairs. And so let's just, take a second and really try to capture this sound. Already you can just hear the lack of the root while you're using these triads is really effective. And a lot of people really like to use the root a lot, and you got the hot tonic, but we're guitar players, and even other instrumentalists too. We're too cool to play the root. The bass is playing the root. So what you want to do is, not saying avoid the root at all costs, but maybe avoid it like it has a minor cold. And you don't really want to get too close, but if you have to, you have to. So what you want to do is you want to learn all these triad pairs, in every inversion as well, because the more inversions the more different, the more ways you can play this material. So the way I showed you was from root position, root position of this triad. My personal favorite is to start from second inversion. It just feels really natural for me, but you might be able to find a triad kind of arpeggio line that you really like yourself. And so, take all of that into consideration once you really start soloing. Now, for finally, I want to give you guys a couple of examples of some songs that you may or may not have heard. If you've heard them, great. If you haven't, well, check them out, and you might be able to get some really good melodic ideas from these songs for adding into your Dorian line. So the first one that you really got to check out is is In Memory of Elizabeth Reed by the Allman Brothers. You gotta listen to that. There are some absolutely masterfully crafted lines that use, it uses the triad stuff. It uses, Dickie Betts uses the scalar stuff. And if you really are paying attention to what they're playing, you can hear a lot of chromatic notes in there that really bring out, the tensions, and just, it's a beautiful, beautiful guitar solos from both Duane Allman and Dickie Betts. Now, the second one I want to point out is more so based around what, the kind of thing you were hearing today, is Oye Como Va, specifically the Carlos Santana version. I mean, you can't beat it. The song is originally by Tito Puente, but what Carlos Santana does, especially in his guitar solo, is he plays around with the relationship between these notes being a chord tone or a tension, and it's really awesome. If you guys get the chance, listen to it, learn the solo. I mean, it is really just it's really, really killer. And then the last one that really set me up with trying to hear these kinds of sounds is the Carlos Santana Secret Chord Progression by Frank Zappa. Yes, the Frank Zappa. Not exactly known in guitar circles as widely as I think he should be, but listen to this song and listen to how he avoids the tonic of that chord like the plague. I mean, he is really trying to bring out the tensions in his solos. So, I hope I was able to clear some things up for you beginning guitar players. Hopefully in due time, my fellow comrades, we are going to have another video talking about the second coolest and most evil sounding mode, Phrygian. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. I'm all ears for improvement. So thanks again. Bye-bye.